Okay, we'd like to open up the select board meeting on Monday, March 24th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Our select board is here, counted and present. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is to review and approve the school roof bids. They all came in, the select board and Ron, we've taken a look at them. I think, Tom, you even looked at some of them. And we're here to see if we can come to a decision on who to pick. So, Colton, did you want to go first, or?
I think the numbers are the numbers. They vary a little bit, but I think JD&D Construction's number I think was decent. I'm really open for any input because I think unfortunately until they actually get in there and start ripping things up, I got a feeling we don't really know the extent of I think all the damage per se. So it's really going to be kind of hard to make a decision, but
Okay.
go whatever direction you guys want to go.
Dan?
I spent some time, I reviewed it, kind of highlight all the main points out of them, same roofing material pretty much based on all of them. They're kind of all over the place depending on what areas of the roof. My only thing is right now, and I touched on it briefly last week, is do we need to do both those flats right now? Because I know we're kind of in limbo, not knowing what possibly the future could be with, the renovations or other projects at the school. And I know over the top of the gymnasium, that's not as needed as much as the main flat area. Do we try to find that happy medium and just try to do that main part and then, go from there with it and see where we end up? That's my only concern. Or I don't know how this would work with, the bid part, if we have to go back out kind of with that as another option, just doing that part instead of like the two. That's just food for thought.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for, to discuss it, because obviously we have to discuss these things in the meeting. So my view is I really liked Wilbur and JD&D. They were my two picks. Wilbur came in at a lower cost, but they did have a paragraph in there that said if they start taking the roof off and they start seeing other damage, obviously it's going to be more money. So my opinion was, I really feel we should do the whole thing. Wilbur's coming in at about $400,000, and I think possibly, and we can discuss that at another meeting, is possibly going after a debt exclusion of more than that. So if they do find things in there, we'll be able to cover it. And I think we can do either $500,000, even $750,000, whatever debt exclusion for that. My reasoning there is, Wilbur is a good company. They have a good reputation and they're local. And I worry about patching it. I agree with Dan. I wish we knew what the future was going to bring. But everyone knows my opinion. I feel until we know, we should stay on the same track that we are, because the kids are still going to have to go there for at least the next couple of years, no matter what happens. And I feel it's important to get the roof done. And then if a new school isn't voted on or whatever, we can still use that building. Or if a new school is voted on and we decide to put it in a different area, like up by the senior center or in back where it is, that building would still be usable for something. So obviously I've been thinking a lot about it, but anyway, that would be my thought, is just have Williver do the whole thing like in the bid. That way we don't have to go back out for a rebid and get it done, because I also worry about time. We want to do this during the summer. So I don't know, Ron, you want to give your 2 cents?
Well, yeah, I'll give my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's all right.
For what it's worth. I know we had a discussion previous meeting about maybe patch sealing it. But I gave it some thought, and no matter what happens at that school, if they vote to do something or they vote to change course, we got to take care of that building. And bottom line is, it's owned by the town. We need to put a roof on it. Even if we got a school project it still be 3 years, 4 years down the road, at least. So, you know, in the best interest of the town and its assets, I think it's the best thing to do is to move forward and get that roof done. And then that's one less thing we have to worry about too. We don't know what the future's gonna hold. So, just so everybody knows too, I have an appraiser going to the school Wednesday at 3:30. Give us an actual value of the property, which is gonna be important too. So, yeah, so, and as for bids, I know Wilbur's done some work for the town already at the DPW building. I know they've done a bunch of work over at Williams College, and just asking around, they came to good references. They're local, so it's up to the board what they want to do, but, you know.
That'd be fine with Brand Wolver. Because I think realistically, if it does
Okay,
turn into a scenario where they uncover stuff, at least they're close. And,
Yeah, they're close, they're Lanesboro, so.
yeah, and I would like, since Mary's here from the school committee, John's here, superintendent of the school, and Tom Boone is here, who's done a lot of work at the school. If you have anything you'd like to add or agree or disagree with, feel free to speak up, just give your name and say what's on your mind, or if you're happy with what we're doing, that'd be fine.
Mary Jerome from the school committee. So you're talking to replace the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Section 1, the main section, not the addition, just the section 1.
right, but including the gym?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yeah, yeah. So I don't even know what it would cost us to try to piecemeal it. I don't know, you know what I mean? But-
And I guess my big thing, I'm afraid it would delay it.
Well, my concern is what's underneath, and what's wet and what isn't, and what's rotten, we don't know. So I'd rather just do it, we know it's sealed tight, and it's done, so.
Tom?
Yeah, my feelings are is the building is the town's responsibility, whether it's a school or not. And it is an asset for this town. It's paid for. So I would recommend replace flat roofs, leave the metal roofs. Wilbur is a very good company. I had a lot of dealings with them over the years. They warranty it. They go above and beyond. I mean, they'll come back 2 or 3 years or more if something happens, and you won't get a bill. Very reputable. And I know they've been like, we can't bid on what we can't see. But I think I was talking to Dean earlier before the meeting, I think that's a good way, because they gave an honest price for the roof. They didn't figure in extras. They said, okay, if we find something, we'll fix it. Yes, we're gonna pay time and material, but I think that's the best way to go. And guessing and putting on a larger number of an extra 100,000, and then not finding anything, we're still gonna pay that 100,000.
Yeah.
They're very honest with the extras, in my dealing, so.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go right now, and we can move forward on other projects.
Tom, John, would you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a problem. There's been some more leaks recently. I talked around last week. We've been trying to get in touch with a gentleman that's done some work there before, some engineering work in the building, just to really get a better assessment of where the building stands right now. So we're trying to reach out, get a price on what that would cost to do an updated assessment, including the roof, obviously, of what work would need to be done just in general, so we can try to, incorporate that into work around doing with the appraisal and just to get a better assessment of the building. I know when we took a walk through that building during the February break with Dan and Ron and the gentleman that did some work for us in the project up in Florida, it was a real big eye-opener for people to see some of the other issues that are there. Just want to get an idea, because I think we've all talked about, what is affordable to the town, what's reasonable to the town, and what's the plan going forward. And we're concerned about what our options are if we don't fix or do something with the school, because around us there are a lot of changes that were there 8 years ago, and now our options are a little more limited, but also, I am continuing to meet with the superintendents in North Adams and Hoosick about doing a regional study. We're trying to find some funding so we can look at the educational alternatives, just going forward in this whole area. So we all have good schools, we all, everybody has their own agenda with that, and the good news about doing a study is to bring some people in that don't have an agenda, that just have a fresh set of eyes, and they can look at the trends and the schools and the buildings and everything that's going on, and give you an idea of what your options are going 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and longer, obviously, because it's needed. It's needed. I mean, Clarksburg is really going against the norm because we are increasing our student population numbers because families are really prioritizing living here so they can enroll in the school. Like I said at one of the last school meetings, we have 206 children enrolled at the school and 172 of those are Clarksburg residents. So our school choice numbers have declined significantly over the last 5 years, to only having 34 there now, and out of that 34, there's only 7 in grades 4 and below. So most of our school choice are in our higher grades. I think that's attributed to the pre-K program in the last 4 or 5 years. So in any case, there's a lot of interest in going to school there. I appreciate the board taking all this time and effort, and all of it, obviously, with Ron following through to get this information, because we certainly need to take care of the buildings where kids can go to school in a place where there's not leaks, and addressing the roof is certainly a key part of that.
Okay. Tom?
I just would like to add one thing. I think all of that work should be done because the setup costs would be double if we did it twice. So then we forfeit some money on that way. I think when the roofers are there, it's definitely cheaper to do the whole thing in the long run than to try to piecemeal it.
No, I do agree with that.
Doesn't matter, so that's a completely different system, so I understand waiting on that.
Okay, Dan, you all set? Anybody want to make a motion? That would-
So I make a motion to hire DJ Wolver and Sons to replace the flat roof at the school.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And then, as I said, we can discuss at the next meeting, we'll get this in a roll, and then we can discuss how we're going to pay for it, and if we want to go for a bigger debt exclusion so we can fix other things, or if they find something else. I want to skip over the MVP. Well, actually, it's only going to take a minute. The MVP, we're looking at getting the next step for the next grant. The design is going to be finished by the end of June, so the next step is get engineering and really going. So it's still going to be a couple years down the road, but we're moving in a positive direction, and we're looking at a lot of money to really fix our drainage problem and fix up the town field. What they were asking for is they want a letter of support for the town of Clarksburg, and this is what this is, so we can apply for the next grant. So that's all this is. So I make a motion that...
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for the MVP program.
All right.
I got an email from somebody from Maine Berkshire Planning, they're involved with you on this, and they want me to come to this next school meeting.
Yes.
So I was going to just put this out there, thank you for all here. Ron and I communicated about, coming April meeting, trying to do some kind of joint budget meeting on the 3rd. So I thought that I would have that representative come on the 3rd, since it'll be the school and the town all there together, to give her presentation about.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's Courtney, who's been in charge from the Berkshire Regional Planning.
Sorry.
She's terrific, and she wants to give updates. That'd be great.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Next is ADA grant focus. As we mentioned at the last meeting, 2 years in a row, we applied for ADA grants, and the ADA committee, they did a lot of work at going through a site evaluation of the school, the town hall, and the senior center, and they did a big project of what every building needs. When we put in for it twice and we haven't received it, And we were able, through Christian Lecco of the governor's office in Springfield, she was wonderful. She gave us the name of the person in Boston that's in charge of these grants. His name is Evan George. And he had a Zoom meeting with Ron and I, and he said that there's so little money out there and so many people want it that when we included all three buildings, it was just too much, so it gets denied. So he suggested to pick one of the buildings and do one. And that's where we are tonight. And I'll say first, in my opinion, I think the school is in most need of ADA, and I would like to see us just focus on that part of the grant. I think here, the door, and I think the senior center, we can get by. It'd be nice to have all these buildings, but we can do one a year. But I think at this point, the school is the most important to get the bathrooms and everything up to ADA. So I don't know, Dan and Colton, you agree or disagree? But why this is important is the deadline's coming up for our application, so I'd like to tonight to decide so Ron can work on getting that ADA grant in, so.
I'll let Dan go first.
Dan?
I agree, we definitely, the school needs some ADA upgrading. Just my concern is as we start entering these studies for, possibly a new school, I hate to be wasting grant resources on renovating something that may be redone in the future. That's just my concern, and not knowing what direction we're going in as we kind of try to do a town vote here at some point to see what direction we're going in.
I think the hard part about this building, it's not the most user-friendly or, I think, overly compliant, I think, across the board anyway. So I agree with Dan. I think it's hard because we're kind of at this precipice at this point of trying to really decide and pick a direction which we're going to go in. And you're right, it's, you receive the grant money, invest it into the school when, there could be a strong possibility that the school's going to be renovated or, torn down or sold entirely. So you're kind of, in my opinion, not throwing good money at bad, but it just complicates the situation. But I'm on board either way. I think it's hard to pick a direction at this point because we really don't know where the big decision is kind of around the corner at this point.
Yeah, I agree that it's a catch-22. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. But I guess I was looking at the same philosophy of the roof, is it is a town building. We are going to be there for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And if the school doesn't pass, and again, it may or may not, that the only alternative is going to be to fall back on that school for renovation. So I guess I look at it, we should go for the school, so.
I'm fine with that, because
I'm not against that.
yeah, because I think realistically, it's not, I think, Superintendent Franzoni could probably agree, if you look around, there's not a lot of old schools that get repurposed for future use. That's why a majority of school projects, they demolish or just do a complete gut renovation. I think Sullivan School is a perfect example in North Adams. The town or the city has tried to unload that for many, many, many years and has been unsuccessful. It's just they're not designed for housing, they're not designed for multi-purpose, it's not going to turn into a retail light commercial. It's just not designed for that. It's hard to think long term of that building. I think if, at that point, yeah, in my opinion, it would make more sense just to demolish it and be done with it. But in the short term, let's go for the grant, I guess, for the ADA compliancy for the school, and I guess we'll continue.
What's the limit on it, do we know?
No, but, my feeling on this, because we have a lot of conversations, but we have nothing in place anywhere. So it's full steam ahead for me. So we have the study done. The study's already been done, all the heavy lifting's done. He basically told us what way to go, and so I'm just going to proceed, if the board's okay with it, like, we're just going to go after some ADA stuff. If we can get the money, it doesn't cost us, it don't match.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a plus. So
Even if it band-aids the situation.
right, and if something changes along the way, of course, then it changes, but there's no outlay, it's just gonna be the time to put it together. But the heavy lifting's done.
Put it this way, states wastes money in worse ways, so.
Right, so.
Move it that
I
way.
make a motion?
Motion, John.
It's funny, though, when I talked to it's a different person I talked to back in what was it, fall of '21, when that whole changeover came after the study. But that recommendation back then was to do something like shared electric, or if you could bundle all the bathrooms together, that would probably, you said, if you go for something in the range of 100,000 or less, that's usually what they like to approve in terms of one focused project, basically, in one building. So if that's what you decide to do, that would probably be the best, and maybe that engineering work we're trying to get done could help with, giving us an idea of a price range for that type of work.
And the lessons learned is, because what, 2 years in a row, of course, they don't tell us why the grants are rejected. We have no reason to know. And I guess I didn't realize, well, we got to track down and see it, and we did that through the governor's office, and now we know that any grants that are denied, we can call the people in charge and they can guide us, which is a big thing, because otherwise, keep applying and keep getting them rejected. So anyway, the motion's on the table for the ADA for the school.
Well, it opens May 5th, so we have time, but the action,
Make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, we're going to the Briggsville Water District discussion. Cleve, appreciate it if you would give us how the Briggsville Water District works and what you think the town should be helpful with or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you, tonight, actually, I should be on the public agenda part of it. I'm not really here as part of the Briggsville Water District.
Okay.
I'm not here to represent the Briggsville Water District. I'm here as a concerned citizen who uses the water district and a customer, of course.
All right, then we'll put you down, public comments coming up. I would like to clarify just something with the grant. It's called the BRIC grant. We're getting almost $500,000 for them to upgrade this Briggsville Water District system. That grant, and the system for people that don't know at home or here, the Briggsville Water District's like a private section. They take care of that. They always have and will. But they cannot get these federal grants. Federal grants have got to go through the town. So therefore, the town is involved, and we have to have the money up front and get paid back or whatever. I'm not sure how it all work, but I do know that we can't just say, oh, you're on your own. We are involved in this, and that's where the discussion came up, what's the future of it. So if anybody's got anything to add to that, we'll just go to public comments and let Cleve say his piece.
No, everything.
Okay, are there any public comments?
Seeing none, we go I go to all the public meetings. All the Briggsville Water District meetings are public. So I go to all the meetings. So I'm pretty well informed as to what's going on.
Yep.
My concern is that as you probably know in the town here, volunteers are far few between now. You can't get anything for nothing anymore. The problem being we're running out of volunteers. And I came to you around, I don't know, 5 years ago maybe, and we discussed the same thing. Fortunately, a few people have come along, John Prosser, Mary John, and a person that was on the board, past Carl. At that point, we started, we had a relationship. Carl was on the board. He was also the administrator, so that made our connection pretty easy. I think we're looking for something like that now. Again, excuse me. I feel that the Briggsville Water District should be looking for another person, a liaison.
I want to move back, the conversations go back, and I think we actually did an outreach looking for an operator. Correct me if I'm wrong, but And I think the price tag for the operator was over the top, I would think.
I'll disagree with you, and we can talk.
Yeah, we can talk about it, it's always open for conversation.
Yeah.
You know, the way I look at it, if the Briggsville Water District can support an operator, I don't know what the revenues are from the district, that's something we can talk about. If that's something we need to look at, because guys like you aren't gonna be around forever. And you're a wealth of information, that whole system. So it's a real, when I say this to the board, it's a real concern, because guys like that, they don't make them anymore.
Right.
And it's true. And, so it's something we need to have a conversation around and have a plan in place.
That's what I wanted to bring to the board.
Yeah, I think it's important.
It's, you know, as these people drop off, the volunteers, it's gonna fall on you guys to,
Hey, we've got 61 homes or 62 homes that are on a water system. If that fails,
seven businesses in town, you know.
yeah, I understand.
Question, Bob. And I'm not intending to open up a can of worms with this, but it's more just curiosity. Is there any idea what the overall liabilities would be, ballpark figures, if the infrastructure of the Briggsville Water District was assumed by the town?
I don't know.
Because I see both sides of,
So
both sides of the
what are you
coin.
saying? You don't want to do it?
No. I'm saying if the town were to basically take ownership of the district itself, so this was not left to private citizens to basically administer, to run, to operate.
Well, that's kind of what we're looking for.
That's my curiosity, if we have somewhat of a ballpark figure of what the liabilities would be, because that's a considerable size system. You know, as we all know, every meeting we talk about, we're, I think, scratching for pennies to pay for things here.
The Briggsville Water District for over 40 years has taken care of itself. And generally has a fair bank account. We purchase property, we purchase buildings, houses, to protect the system. So it's not as if you're taking on something that's not something that might be able to sustain itself. I think the figure you're talking about is less. We've got back on the figure. Yeah, okay. And it's not that scary.
No, at that point in time,
We're only talking about 4 hours, it's a part-time job.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
It's 4 hours a day.
and remind me that brick grant, that would replace all the laterals, right?
And it'll replace everything.
Yes.
Right. And it will also give us,
Everything in the entire system?
correct.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
So the system would be brand new?
That's right.
Yeah.
You'll be taking out a brand new system, an improved system also. What part of the grant is, it'll bring a tank, an electric tank, up to the top of the hill, and it will be all gravity fed. So electricity, pumping and all that sort of thing won't be an issue. We have a little bit of a study that's been done. You guys can take a look at that if you want. There's a couple of alternatives that we took a look at.
Again, I'm wondering, because we have
No, that's engineering.
we have the North Adams, Eagle Street, and Houghton Street, North Houghton, North Eagle, and then we have on it's on the Hoosick Water Quality District. And I guess what was going through my mind, why can't the Briggsville Water District be similar, where you would still pay, because they pay for their, whenever there's a break, or whenever there's maintenance, they have that fund, and they pay for it. The only thing that would...
Well, that's sewer.
So I was thinking of both of those sewer, actually, is the sewer is the one...
It was the enterprise fund.
Is an enterprise fund.
Right.
I'm wondering, why couldn't that be similar to the Bridgeville Water District, but then the treasurer part of it, could go through the town. The reading of the meters could be lumpy going through the town. We're working on getting a fourth person there, we've been trying to get one. I'm wondering if,
I'm on Hudson Brook, and my water bills go directly to North Adams.
No, I get a water bill, it's not bad. I get a water charge for the sewer.
all right. So I'm just wondering if we could look at something similar, because here's always been the issue, is myself, for instance, I'm on a shallow well and have our own septic system. I had to upgrade to a Title V, which was a few $1,000s. I had a water leak last year, $4,000 to fix that. It's like, look, the town's not helping me do any of this. This is all my money. So it's like a lot of, over half the town are in this situation. So it's like, hey, why should we give money to any of the enterprises to fix them when we have to pay all ourselves?
We're not asking for one.
No, and that's my point.
Administration kind of overview with like the grants and that. We're not looking for anybody that's not on the system to pay for anything.
I agree. I hate, I think we run into this scenario on quite a few topics, I think, in town, where it's, well, you're on one side of the coin or you're on the other. And I think we see how divisive I think some of the conversations can get sometimes.
Well,
I come from the infrastructure aspect of it is, you're right, if push came to shove, the absolute crisis that would occur if that system were to fail, the attention, the media, everything would be astronomical, that basically we're kind of operating ass backwards up here, that, you have this private system with X amount of houses that are included on it. I would be very open and interested in the fact if the system's going to be basically completely renovated under this brick grant, everything's going to be new.
No, the engineering will be done under the brick grant. We'll follow up grants, we'll do the rest of it.
You'll do the
We
laterals.
have a one-stop grant.
Right, that's for engineering, there's $400 and whatever thousand,
Right,
yeah.
so that will take care of the engineering.
So there's no preliminary estimates of what a complete system replacement would look like?
Yeah.
Okay.
You give it.
I would be open to reviewing it. I think if the system at that point is replaced and we're working with a new system, I think, the town's basically being, not given, but would assume oversight of a new state-of-the-art system, yes, that would have to be monitored through the DPW, which in return would probably, we would probably have to hire somebody else to increase that, which we've obviously had a hard time filling an open position, that's been posted for quite a while. I would be open to obviously reviewing that, but I just think we'd have to have some hard numbers. I hate the idea of, in my opinion, water, that's a core utility. This is one of those things where it has to be, that's the last thing you want people. Look what happened in Flint, Michigan. When you neglect things for so long, and then everybody kind of throws their hands up at the end and say, oh, it's not really my problem. You can't, we're still a municipality.
And I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Just so you know, it's not as easy as just adding someone on to the DPW. There are certain licensing requirements.
I know.
So it's not just hiring a laborer. You actually have to have some licensing and someone to get those, but that also raises their pay rate.
Dan,
Trust me,
want to add anything?
No, I'm definitely, like to see the town continue to help support the Bridgeville Water District with grants and anything we can do on our side. And in the future, open to discussion of what we can help with.
But I just think right now, we should really look at advertising for an operator for that water district right now, and come up with we can meet and come up with a grand scheme of things, what kind of money we're looking at, hours.
Is there any private operators in northern Berkshire County now or no? Because I know, down by my office, Holyoke's got a private water operator. A lot of these municipalities have private water operators, but.
I relate it to maybe we get a situation where, like here, we have Building Inspector Moranti from North End, we pay him a stipend or whatever it is. I don't know how it would work. It would have to come down to conversation. You know better than I do what the market wage is for something like that and the amount of hours. But I think that's something we need to look at sooner than later.
The issue we had, and I don't believe that it's changed, a couple of years ago, the DEP came to us and said, you need someone minimum, I think it was 20 hours a week, or 30 hours a week at such and such a rate.
Yeah.
With labor.
Was that part of the consent decree or no? That was not, that wasn't part of the consent decree, I think. I think DEP's, they came.
Was that part of the dissent?
No,
Well,
but
It came soon after,
yeah.
yeah.
well, so,
And we were going back and forth with them. Our system is not that large. It can't sustain, nor does it need someone for that amount of time. So we've been going back and forth with them on that.
yeah, but I think that's something we need to start looking at.
Yeah, and I think tonight, the big thing tonight was to start this conversation.
Right.
And now we'll go and we'll get some of these figures and we'll see what we need to do to get the ball rolling. So it may be not for this town meeting, it may be a year, but come up with a plan where everybody can agree on for the town.
It's gonna be sooner than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because, the district, the water district is self-sustaining, I believe, money-wise. It can support,
Okay.
it can support that, and I think that's what we need to focus on right now. And then, as time goes on, we figure out things, you know what I mean? So we just gotta get a plan in place before,
All right, so we'll move as fast as we can.
It is keeping communication. Also, as you look for grants for the town, there may be grants that are water-related grants. So as you're looking, you might keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And pass it on to us, because we don't have the, we're with all the surgery, we don't know where of the town, what we do now, but we may not in the future.
Right,
So we're looking.
no, I agree.
So we'll try to come up with a plan that is satisfactory for the town to approve, and that both sides gain from
I
it.
would have to urge, if I can use that word, us to do it sooner than later, because it is relying on 2 to 3 or 4 people who've been doing this for years now. And again, because of our relationship with the administrator and being with the Briggsville, we had that relationship where he was able to get us the brick grant in a one-stop. But without that relationship, we're going to be floundering sooner than later. And I hate to lose the momentum that we've gotten so far. I think we're going in a great direction. Clean's been allowed to retire for years and years. We've had ads out there, we've had some people, come and say it's just too small for them. We need help now rather than later.
Okay, because time goes by fast, and let's say we meet every other week or whatever. We have all these discussions through Learn and through Cleveland, Mary, and John, whatever, to try to come up with what you think would be the best plan to present to the town, and then we get it done for this town meeting. And then we can either put it on the agenda every week, if we want to come and discuss it openly, we'll come up with something, or whatever. But what I always worry about is we go home, and then you'll be on the agenda, and nothing ever happens, and a month goes by, and it gets too late. So if you're all
I'll
set...
stop by after run.
Okay.
Hold off.
I've got a lot of friends in this group.
Well, Courtney is who they're dealing with.
So they're involved in some of this too, so they're getting information as far as, they're with the MVP and that, but they also are helping us with the water district, so any information or questions we have, they're great to field those questions, because they're very knowledgeable about everything about the grants and how the money's funded.
Okay, and I think right now, as the board goes, we just need to be in agreement that we want to study this and that we're open to getting an agreement with the Briggsville Water District. Does that sound good?
I agree.
And we all agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I do one more thing?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman? Did you, I imagine you must have reached out to DEP with some ideas of some operators they have on a list or anything like that, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This part of the state's kind of
Limited.
tough, yeah.
We've had a couple people interested from Housatonic. and.
I don't think I have the best track record.
I know, you're not able to be super choosy. But the individual or two that we talked to, they're on their own, they're fine. And,
Were they open to it?
there's one that's still, kicking it around. We just haven't sealed any deals, so,
We only got all options.
Okay, yes, and again, tonight was the thing is just making sure everyone's agreeing that we gotta take a look at this. So we'll move as fast as we can.
No surprises for you guys.
Right,
That's-
right. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Okay, are there any other public comments? Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting at 5:40.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?